Welcome back to my channel. So today I decided to do a continuation of your Engage NY Module 3, which is your Lesson 2, which is also your Lesson 13.6a. We were covering on the previous video that I did, we were covering area and perimeter. So it's the same lesson. I'm just going to do a continuation of it. So I'm going to go ahead and start straight off with question 4. Question 4 states the area of Betsy's rectangular sandbox is 20 square feet. The longer side measures 5 feet. The sandbox at the park is twice as long and twice as wide as Betsy's. Part A says draw and label a diagram of Betsy's sandbox and then find its perimeter. What is its perimeter? What we're going to do first is we're going to look at Betsy's, and we're going to look at the area of Betsy's rectangular sandbox. The area of Betsy's rectangular sandbox is 20 square feet. So we're going to go ahead and circle that in. And for part A, since it does talk about Betsy's sandbox, we're going to first draw a rectangle right here. Okay? And we know that the area equals 20 square feet. So we know that the area is 20. Now, in Betsy's rectangular sandbox, we also know that the longer side measures 5 feet. So the longer side measures 5 feet. So we know we could say that, okay, well, that means that the side is 5 feet. Now, this is very similar to the one that we had done in the previous video, because we know that the formula for area is area equals length times width. But since they're telling us that the area is 20, we're pretty much doing 20 equals 5, which is the length, times something. So again, there's two different ways of figuring that out. I could just do 20 and divide it by 5. That's going to give me 4. Or I could think what number times 5 gives me 20. In this case, it is 4. So that means that the missing side length is 4 feet. All right. Now, they are saying what is its perimeter. So for perimeter, we know it's 2 times the length. So we're going to write it here. Perimeter equals 2 times the length, which is 5, plus 2 times the width, which is 4. Okay. And then we're just going to find the perimeter. So that's going to be 2 times 5, which is 10. Plus 2 times 4, which is 8. Okay. And so the perimeter is going to give me 18. Now, for part B, okay, so again, part A, we found out that the area is 20. In order to find the missing side, we needed to do 20 divided by 5, which is 4. Then we had to, it did say what is the perimeter, so we had to find the perimeter, which was 2 times the length plus 2 times the width. That gave us 10 plus 8, which is 18. Now for part B, it says draw and label a diagram of the sandbox at the park. What is its perimeter? Now, it says the sandbox at the park is twice as long and twice as wide. That means it is 2 times the length here and 2 times the width of Betsy's sandbox. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a rectangle. All right. And in order to follow that example, I'm going to look at the length. Okay. So the length is 5 feet. Now again, it does say it is twice as long. So that means twice as long is the same thing as saying 2 times 5. So that means that twice as long as that is 10 feet, because 2 times 5 is 10. and twice as long, twice as wide as Betsy's, the width is 4. So that means it's going to be 2 times 4, which is going to give me 8 feet. Now the question is, now I have to find the perimeter of the Parks sandbox. So this is the Parks sandbox. I'm going to write the word Parks right here. And we're going to find the perimeter. So let's plug in the formula with P equals 2 times 10 plus 2 times 8. Now, if I continue plugging that in, it's going to give me perimeter equals 2 times 10 is 20 plus 2 times 8 is 16. Oops, sorry. 2 times 8 is 16. So if I add those two numbers together, I get a final perimeter of 36 feet. All right. And I know it doesn't ask us for area, but if we needed to find the area of the park, we could say that the area of the park is length times width. So that means that the area of this park is going to be 10 times 8, which will give me an area of 80. Okay? So notice the area here is 20 and the area here is 80. The perimeter on this one is 18. The perimeter on part B is 36. And there's a reason why I'm saying that, because it goes into the next question. So let's go ahead and continue on to the next part of the question. All right, now, so that leads us into question C, which is what I was explaining. It says, what is the relationship between the two perimeters? So we know that the first perimeter for part A was 18, and I have that right here. And we know that these for Betsy's. And we know that the Park Sandbox's perimeter was 36. Now, if you look at these two perimeters, we have 18 and we have 36 feet. Now think, what commonalities, what do they share that's the same? What's their relationship? Okay, think about this for a couple of minutes. You can pause the video here. And then see if you were right, or see if maybe you got a different perspective on what the relationship between the two perimeters were. So now, if you thought about it, you could see that I have 18 and I have 36. Well, if I multiplied 18 times 2, or I added 18 plus 18, I get 36. So that means that the relationship between the two perimeters is that both perimeters, or let me rephrase that, the perimeter of Betsy's sandbox, okay, we know it's less than the perimeter of the Park sandbox, but what we can definitely say is that the perimeter of the Park sandbox, this perimeter 36, we can say that 36, okay, is double. 36 is double of 18. 36 is double of 18. Why? Because 18 times 2, or 18 plus 18, gives me 36. So we could say that they're doubles. The Park's sandbox is double the size and perimeter than the perimeter of Betsy's sandbox. Okay, and then for question D, it says, find the area of the Park sandbox using the formula area equals length times width. We had already done that. I'll go ahead and do it again just in case you didn't get it correct. But if you take a look at this, you have the park, this is the parks. So I'm going to go ahead and put the word here, parks. Now, the parks area is, again, area equals length times width. So I know that I'm going to have 10 times 8. Okay, that is my area. So therefore, just like I have it earlier, the area is going to be 10 times 8, which is 80 feet. Okay? And we also did the area of Betsy's sandbox, which was 20 square feet. All right, that's going to bring us to our next question. And here we go. All right, now, so question E says the sandbox at the park, which is this one, the parks, has an area that is how many times that of Betsy's sandbox? Betsy's sandbox or Betsy's area is this. Its area is 20 square feet. They want to know how many times that 80 square feet, how many times more is that of Betsy's sandbox? Well, if you take a look, you have to think, well, wait a minute. I have 80. I know that if I multiplied 20 times 4, I get 80. Right? Because 0 times 4 is 0 and 4 times 2 is 8. So that means that 80 is 4 times greater. So the way that we word that is, so we're going to write that the park's area is 4 times greater than Betsy's sandbox area, Betsy's area. Okay? Because again, I could do 20 times 4 is 20 times 4 is 80, okay? Now we're going to go ahead and go to question F. And question F simply states or simply asks, compare how the perimeter changed with how the area changed between the two sandboxes. Explain what you notice using words, pictures, or numbers. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to start our explanation with Betsy's sandbox. Okay, Betsy's sandbox has a perimeter of P equals 18. The park's perimeter, okay, the park's perimeter, as you remember before, we had 10 and 10, which is 20, and then, so we know it was 36, okay? So the park's perimeter was P equals 36. Again, what is the difference? Well, if we look at 18 and we look at 36, I can definitely tell that 18 is half of 36, or in other words, 36 is twice greater than 18, because again, 18 times 2 gives me 36. Okay, so that's one thing I can say. So I'm going to go ahead and say that, again, so I can pretty much say that if my area quadruples or if my area doubles, the perimeter is also going to change as well. It's either going to double or whatnot. So we could say in this case that 36 is double of 18. Why? Because my area doubled, or actually quadrupled. I'm sorry, I keep saying doubled. My area quadrupled. Okay? From the first sandbox to that of the park sandbox. All right? So that's it for today's video, guys. Stay tuned for the next and upcoming videos. Remember, you can always play this back, review, and I'll see you next time, guys. Bye.